Welcome to Venice. Now, we have been getting several people asking us, why'd you guys stop uploading? Upload again, where's the next video? So apologies for that. We just took a temporary break to work on the food contest. Not sure yet how that's gonna turn out, but we'll see. It was fun regardless. Anyway, we're here to make it up to you guys today with a gelato recipe for Phantom of Venice. I think this is gonna make you guys forgive us pretty quickly. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna do a couple different flavors, and first things first, we're gonna start off with a blackberry gelato flavor. We are going to use actual blackberries, but since we don't want there to be a lot of blackberry seeds in our gelato, we want it to be nice and smooth. We are going to, first of all, throw these in a pot and cook down the liquid and strain out the juice. We're only going to use the juice from these. So we have 1 pound of blackberries. We're going to put that over about medium to medium-low heat on the stove. If you have fresh, by all means use them, but we don't have access to those today. This is going to take a good probably 10 minutes at least, maybe a little bit longer. So
while that does that,
we're going to stir that frequently, let it start breaking down, and once your berries start to thaw, if you have time, you can go ahead and thaw these out ahead of time. If not, throw them in there, and when they start to thaw, take a fork and start mashing them to make sure they release every bit of juice that we can get. Our blackberries are nicely thawed out and they've started to bubble, so we are going to take them off the stove and use a strainer to make sure that we strain out all the pulp, but we want to get every bit of juice out. And that's going to take a few minutes to drip through, so we're just going to leave that be. Our blackberry juice has strained out nicely. We're going to add that back on the stove over medium heat, bring it up to a simmer, and once it starts to simmer, we are going to let that cook for about 8 to 10 minutes until the liquid is reduced by approximately half. Our blackberry juice is reduced nicely, so we are going to add 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. This is going to help the color stay nicely. We're also going to add a 1/3 cup of sugar. And then 1.5 cups of milk. And we're going to bring that back up to a simmer. So now we've got a tablespoon of cornstarch dissolved in a splash of cold milk. We're going to whisk that in. And we're going to let that cook for about a minute until it thickens up. That's looking pretty good, so we're going to take it off the heat, put it in a container, and put that in the fridge to get cold. So let's get started on our chocolate one. This is definitely going to be the easiest. We're going to take 1.5 cups of milk and get that heating on about medium heat until it starts to steam. Our milk has started to steam. We're now going to add 3 tablespoons of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use bittersweet or semi-sweet. We have semi-sweet on hand, so that's what we're using. We're also going to add 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Next, we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And we're going to cook that until it comes to a simmer and the sugar gets nicely dissolved. Our milk is heated and steaming. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch that we have dissolved in a splash of cold milk. We're going to let that cook for about 1 to 2 minutes until the cornstarch is incorporated and it starts to thicken up. It's nicely thickened, so now we're just going to take that off the heat, put it in another container, and put that in the refrigerator until it gets cold. So now we're starting on our orange mixture. For this we've got 1.5 cups of orange juice and the juice of 1 lemon. We're going to simmer that down till it's reduced by at least 1/3. Ideally we're going to get it almost syrupy thick. And separately, we're going to take 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch, mix that with some cold milk, and then bring that up to medium heat on the stove until it starts to thicken. And then we're going to set that aside. So let's get that going. Add just a splash of cold milk to the cornstarch, turn that into a liquid. And then we want 1.5 cups of milk in our separate pot. You can do the blackberry one the same method too. With this one, we're just making sure we do it this way because it's a lot more finicky. If we're not careful with how we do it, the citrus, the orange, and the lemon is going to make the milk curdle and separate, and it's going to get this awful taste and texture, and that's not what we want for a nice, smooth, creamy gelato. So you can do the other one this way, but for the orange, definitely make sure that you do them separately. And then chill both the orange and the milk before you combine the two. We're going to let that go for a few minutes. So the orange juice has reduced to about half of what it was, and we're going to add 1/3 cup of sugar. It's actually reduced to a little bit less than half, which is great. We want it very condensed. So we're going to add the sugar and cook that until it's fully dissolved. I'll let that cook for another minute or two. And then at that point, we're just going to take it off the heat and chill it. So that's all we can do for today. We're just gonna let our gelato bases get cold. Tomorrow we're gonna put them in the ice cream maker and get them going, but if you don't have access to an ice cream maker, there is a method that you can use, in which case you can go ahead and start working on that now. You're gonna take your base, put it in not in a jar like we did, put it in a bowl with a lid. Put that in the freezer, and you're going to take that out every 30 minutes and scrape it down nicely, stir it really well, and put it back in the freezer. Take it out every 30 minutes, stir it, put it back, take it out, stir it, put it back until it's set up, and that's going to give it kind of the same effect as the ice cream maker itself will do. It's just not going to be quite as smooth, but the flavor will still be the same. But just to make our life easier, we're going to do all of it in the ice cream maker tomorrow, so we are going to take a break now. We'll be back. We'll see how it's turning out, and I'm excited. Welcome to day 2. Time to start our ice cream. So, our maker is pretty simple. We've got the base that we've had in the freezer overnight to get it nice and frozen solid. We're gonna start off with our chocolate mixture. Gonna give that a shake.
Pretty thick. So.
And we're just gonna dump that in there, turn it on, and let the magic happen. Took forever, but we got some gelato, we have chocolate, we have blackberry, and we have orange. Let's give it a try. We have our orange, we have our chocolate, we have our blackberry, and I'm excited to try it.
I think my favorite's the orange.
Okay, the chocolate's really good. It's not a super dark chocolate, so if you do like a really intense chocolate flavor, you can definitely add extra chocolate chips or extra cocoa powder to yours. But if you just want a good basic chocolate flavor, this is definitely that. So the blackberry, the method that we used to make that one works, but you'll definitely have a little bit easier time if you use the same method that we did for the orange one, which is cook your blackberry juice and the lemon juice and the sugar, chill that, and then cook your milk and your cornstarch separately, chill that, and then combine the two. With the blackberry one, there's less risk of the milk curdling and separating, but since there is some lemon juice in there, it can affect the texture a little bit. We came close to that happening with this one. We really did want to do the orange with blood oranges, but we were unable to find them in the store in time, so we're able to do that this time. But I do highly recommend trying that out. Let us know how it is. Was it worth the hassle of actually making it?
Yeah. I would make the orange one again. Definitely. That was my favorite. I would make that.
My chocolate's a favorite, but that's because I really like a good chocolate. I'm sure at some point over time we'll try it with the rest of the flavors available in-game, but for today's purposes, we just wanted to tackle 3. Give it a try. Let us know what your favorite flavor is, what your favorite flavor from the game would have been, or your favorite flavor combo. Feel free to try this recipe and switching out the flavors, like switching out the blackberries for something else. Honestly, I really want to do one with raspberry just because I use raspberries a lot in desserts, and I would love to do the raspberry and the chocolate together. Go wild with it. Again, apologies to all of you for disappearing for a couple weeks.
We're very sorry.
We were still working on things. We just weren't uploading regularly. Trying to focus on the contest. Now that that's over, we should be back to posting every week. And we will be back next week with another recipe tutorial for all of you to enjoy. Until then, bye.
Bye.